One step closer. I'm Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. On Friday, the third-party group No Labels ended months of speculation about whether it would field a unity ticket for the presidential race. In a virtual convention, more than 800 delegates from all 50 states voted to move forward with the process. And on the heels of that news, several outlets are reporting there's a particular candidate now under consideration. Jeff Duncan, 48-year-old, was a Republican lieutenant governor of Georgia under Brian Kemp from 2019 to early 2023. He's a conservative Republican and also a vocal critic of Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Duncan recently wrote an op-ed in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution titled "End Doesn't Justify the Means" on Trump about why he won't support Trump for president, writing, quote, "Trump has become incapable of leading in a respectable or mature way. Until more of us are willing to acknowledge that hard truth, we will be on the outside looking in." The news came the day after President Biden's State of the Union address, which calmed the nerves of many in his own party about his capacity and vigor for the campaign and the job. It's too soon to know if Biden's performance will dent the polling that for months has been finding many Americans unhappy with the rematch of the 2020 rivals. Last fall, a Fox News poll found that 50% of registered voters would dread a Biden-Trump rematch. As primary voting began this year and the inevitability gained momentum, a Reuters Ipsos poll found that 70% of respondents said Biden should not seek re-election, including about half of Democrats. 56% said Trump should not run, including about a third of Republicans. And most Americans don't identify as Republicans or Democrats. The most recent Gallup poll on party affiliation finds 42% now say they are independent. A recent Wall Street Journal poll, including third-party candidates, broke down this way: Trump at 40, Biden at 35, Kennedy at 9, with a few points among Cornel West Jill Stein and Libertarian Lars Mapstead, and 12% still undecided. Complicating the No Labels bid, several names, including Senator Joe Manchin, former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, even Nikki Haley, have already said they will not run as No Label candidates. There's also the issue as to whether a Haley or Dean Phillips, for that matter, would run afoul of state sore loser laws, which bar candidates who sought and failed to win a party's nomination from then running in the general as an independent or for another party. Joining me now is the chair of the No Labels Convention, Mike Rawlings. He's also the former mayor of Dallas, Texas, and former CEO of Pizza Hut. Mayor, nice to see you again. The Wall Street Journal and ABC both saying that there have been these meetings between No Labels and former Georgia Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan. Is there truth to that?
Well, I think we're getting out over our skis here. Good to talk to you, Michael. We have just gotten those delegates to say, let's move ahead enthusiastically with this. Next week, we're going to unveil the process from here on out and talk about who's doing what to whom. All these names have been speculated. There's been names since you've been talking about it for a long time, and everything is speculation at this point. And so no news to bring you this today.
Okay, no disrespect to Jeff Duncan in particular, but don't you hope in the end, if you field a candidate for president, that there's a bigger credential than, say, lieutenant governor?
You know, we want to make sure, and listening to our delegates, they want a couple of things. One, they want to kind of break the mold from the candidates that are out there. Second, that they make sure that we've got a path to the White House and that those candidates are winnable. And so we're looking for those things. Somebody, you know, it's very tough as a human being to decide to run for a president. You got to have courage, and you got to have the ego to have courage, and you've got to be have the humility to cooperate and bring this country together. And so that's what we're looking for.
Mayor, you know the adage, right? You can't beat somebody with nobody. Is it proving more difficult than you thought to find a candidate, a ticket?
Well, first of all, I think the concept, as you've talked about, America loves, but it's all got to get down to the person. And that's why we are so excited that we're going to get serious about this now in the next couple of weeks. We should announce something by March 14th, no later than the middle of April. Everybody wants us to do something now, but we do have time. You remember Ross Perot really didn't start getting signatures till the spring of when he ran. So there's time out there.
So former Congressman Dick Gephardt is in the on-deck circle. I know that he's written a letter to No Labels as well as to third-party candidates already running, saying in short order, if by July 1 you're not in a position to document that you can actually win this thing, that you're on ballots to get 270 electoral votes and that you're competitive in at least 5 of the battleground states, then you ought to stand down. Does that seem like a fair proposal or challenge from Congressman Gephardt?
You know, Michael, I'm fascinated with this theoretical fear-mongering that's going on, that somehow what's going to keep America from leaping into Dante's 9 circles of hell is what No Labels does, okay? Somehow this is No Labels' fault. The Democrats, this is my party, my whole life, okay, have done this to themselves with quixotic windmill chasing, with bad talking points, with the candidate that they chose. This is what the Democrats have done. No Labels is just speaking for the common sense majority that says we got to have a better way out of this thing. Do I fear Donald Trump?
I'm very, Mayor, and I know all the polling data because I do discuss it constantly. Most people want a choice. That's what they've consistently said. And a plurality of the country, I just had the Gallup data in there again, are independent, not R or D. Before you leave me, respond to the person watching who says, and you've heard this too, in any other cycle, this would be worthy of pursuit, but you can't do it in this cycle because Donald Trump is perilous to democracy. You say what to that?
We're going to get run over by the Donald Trump train, okay? We didn't tie the Democrats to this track. We were the ones that saw this coming and say, get off the track. Let's do this in a different way. Let's talk about common sense issues. Let's get common sense leadership. Let's take accountability in this country. You know, as opposed to like pointing fingers and putting the blame game. Let's stand up and let's say what we're going to do for America in this future.
Mayor Rawlings, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now for an opposing point of view, Dick Gephardt, former House Democratic Majority Leader, himself ran for president in 1988 and 2004. The group that he co-founded, it's called Citizens to Save Our Republic. It's a bipartisan organization. I mentioned this, sent an open letter to the No Labels delegates as well as similar letters to RFK Jr., Jill Stein, and Cornel West. The letter asks that they sign the following no-spoiler pledge. Quote, if by July 1, No Labels and/or its ticket has not qualified to be on the ballots in enough states to have a mathematical chance to win 270 electoral votes and is not competitive in 5 or more states, No Labels commits to withdrawing its candidate from the ballots in the swing states that will decide the election. That will ensure an up or down vote for democracy. Congressman, nice to see you again. You ran twice for president. Why shouldn't anybody else have that opportunity?
They should, Michael. As I've said to you before, if these were normal times, we would have no problem with this. Anybody can run. We're in a free country. I ran twice for the Democratic nomination. Nobody told me I could. Nobody told me I couldn't. It's a choice that everybody can make. And I heard what the mayor said, and I respect him, but he's saying the Democrats dropped the ball here. Well, he could have run against Joe Biden. Anybody else could have run against Joe Biden. Everybody chose not to do that, so he's going to be our nominee. So we are where we are, but Donald Trump, who's the Republican nominee, tried to overthrow the last election, and he tried to overthrow the federal government. He cannot be allowed, as Liz Cheney said, anywhere near the White House again. So we're just trying to alert No Labels and the other third-party candidates, don't risk putting Donald Trump back in the White House by running in this context.
Congressman, you make the point that in any other cycle, maybe it's worthy of pursuit. You also salute some of the work that No Labels has done, in particular with the problem solvers. For me, it's kind of a Rorschach test. Glass half empty, glass half full, depends how you interpret it. You say any other cycle because Trump is too big of a threat. I look at the data and I say the moon and the stars have lined up because people want a choice. We may never get an opportunity like this again, where so many individuals are begging for an alternative.
Michael, let me give a little history and a little mathematics. In 2016, Donald Trump got 46% of the national vote, and third parties in that race got 5% of the vote. That elected Donald Trump. In 2020, he got 46% of the vote, but the third parties only got 2% of the vote. And that allowed Joe Biden to win a razor-thin majority over Donald Trump. Now, let's look at some history. In 1992, Ross Perot entered the race late. He got 19% of the vote. He got no electoral votes, not one. To get an electoral vote, you have to win a plurality of a state. And that is what we do not believe No Labels or any of these others are going to be able to do. And I've seen a recent poll that says that if Nikki Haley is the No Labels candidate in this race, she gets 11% of the vote, and she would not get one electoral vote. That's our worry.
I want you to respond to a comment. I'll put it on the screen, but I'll read it aloud in case you can't see it. This is from the Wall Street Journal, coverage of that story today that says Jeff Duncan is under consideration. A gentleman named George says this: I give No Labels a lot of credit. Our system has evolved in a way that both major parties essentially represent a political duopoly, and it ain't working. They both have produced candidates that no one likes except the extremes. These guys are both running against each other. Neither of them could beat anyone other than the guy they're running against. Use your brains, people. Don't be sheep. It's time for the thoughtful center to take back the country. What do you say to George Spencer?
In another time, that may be true. I'll say it again. The Republican nominee, Donald Trump, would end our democracy. That's what we're talking about here. That's the only thing to talk about. In this election, democracy's on the ballot, and all of us are on the ballot. If the American people want to preserve this precious gift that we were given by our founders in 1789, we were the first people on earth that were allowed to govern ourselves. We have to prevent someone coming to this office who will destroy the electoral process and this democracy.
Thank you, Congressman. I wish we had more time because you know I love this debate. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts? Hit me up on social media. I'll read some responses throughout the course of the program. From the world of X, realistically, don't you think the Unity Party should have been grooming a candidate for months, if not years ago? Is this a little late in the game? AJ, I think it's an idea that many of us, I'll put myself in that category for sure, embrace in the abstract until you get to the point of deciding, okay, who will it be? And the individuals who are out there of stature have not signified that they've got a willingness or an ability to do it. You want a name from me? I'll give you two, and they're both admirals, William McRaven and James Stavridis. If either of them were willing to accept a No Labels invitation, it's a game changer.